Hello, art teachers. Because many of our school districts don't provide us with any curriculum, scope, or sequence, we struggle with knowing what we should teach or when we should teach it. Even if we've been teaching for years, sometimes we wonder, am I on the right track? Am I missing anything? Am I teaching the same thing that other people are teaching? I've seen people requesting a curriculum, a scope and sequence, or even a guide to how to plan your own curriculum on Art Teacher's social media many times. So I decided to write mine to let you know how I do it. It's not a quick process, but it's not really hard. It just takes a little time to think it through, write it down, and make a chart. So now I'm going to talk you through how to make your own. The subject of art education is so expansive and there's so much to cover. Many of us have no district curriculum. Maybe it's a new art program. You could be revamping or reorganizing after years of teaching. Maybe someone in administration has been questioning how you're teaching, what you're teaching, why you're teaching it. Maybe you're just not sure what you should be teaching. Or maybe, like many people, you are tired of searching the internet, trying to find the next project week to week. Planning ahead will save you a lot of headaches. It will help you keep your supplies organized. It will give you something concrete to show your administration, and it buys a lot of peace of mind. Even if you have curriculum resources from your district or from a curriculum that you have purchased, you still need to decide which of these projects is going to work for you and when. What age, what order, what ideas of your own are you going to add, and what things are you just going to leave out. Now, I could just give you a copy of my curriculum, which I have posted in many of the teacher Facebook groups, but that's only going to work for me in my circumstances. My curriculum is useful for getting an idea of how to easily structure your own, but my circumstances do not match yours. So following my week-to-week curriculum isn't going to be any more useful than following the Art of Education or Deep Space Sparkle. You need to be able to take those ideas from other sources and make them your own. Now, this is going to take a little time. You're not going to be able to do it all in one sitting, and you're going to need a lot of paper. So if this is the first time you're seeing this, you can skim through it very quickly just to get an idea of what I'm talking about. But when you're ready to plan, sit down when you can concentrate, because the first thing you're going to need to do is write some lists, take some notes. Planning your curriculum is just like writing a business plan. You're going to think about your assets, your liabilities, and what your goals are. Do not start your planning by looking up ideas on Pinterest. Pinterest is great, but it's not the place to start. If that's the way you've been planning, you've been doing it backwards, and it's no wonder you're exhausted. So get out your paper and your color-coded pens. I'm going to walk you through what you need to think about before you start putting together a schedule. The answer to these questions are going to be different for every one of us, and that's how we can make a plan that fits us uniquely. The first question is there any sort of structure in place already? Do you have a school, a district, or a state curriculum? Do you have standards you have to follow? Do you have a scope and sequence? Has your school provided you with any sort of guide? My district gives us a really helpful chart which tells us grade by grade, quarter by quarter, the concepts that they want us to cover, but does not explicitly say how to execute that. For instance, complementary colors is something that should be taught in third grade in a particular quarter. Now, they don't tell us how, and there's no one actually tracking it. So if I didn't get to complementary colors that quarter of third grade, it's not really going to make a difference. But having that clear chart of expectations really makes it easy for me to do my planning, even if I'm making some adjustments and not necessarily hitting every goal. What about your schedule? First of all, what grade levels do you? How much time do you have for your lessons? It varies so widely. Some of us have 25 minutes, others have 50. Many middle school students are on a block schedule, so they have perhaps an hour and a half every other day. How often are you meeting? I'm on a 5-day rotation, which works fine, but one year I was at a school that was really crowded and it was on a 6-day rotation. That really cut down the number of things that I could offer, and also it was so long between classes. Do you have a separate ESE art class, or are they integrated into your general ed? What about your physical space? This is the thing that varies so much among us. Some of us have gorgeous spaces with 3 sinks. Other people are on a cart. So what you're going to teach is going to depend a lot on whether you have a room, how good of a room, or if you're on a cart, and how good of a cart. I know some of us are carrying things upstairs. Do you have a kiln? Do you even have a sink? How much drying rack space do you have? This is something that's really going to matter when you're deciding if you are going to teach wet media to multiple grades at once, or if you have to spread it out because you just don't have the space to dry. Are you under any professional mandates? Some art teachers have a cross-curricular mandate that they have to coordinate what they're teaching with what the general ed teachers are teaching. Some teachers have an art show either because they want to or because it's mandated. I don't, but I fill a lot of bulletin boards. What about community exhibitions? I was at a school that we participated in, 3 or 4 every year in the community. And that was a really important part of my curriculum. My current school, we only do one a year, but it's still something I need to plan around. What is your administration looking for when they come through and do evaluations? Are they just looking for general competence? Or are they looking at your program in a particular or specific way? And what about your school culture? What are your kids like? Some schools, you can really push those kids to do a lot. Other schools, not so much. Are there any traditions or legacy projects that you have to consider? What about extracurricular expectations? Are you going to be having an art club? Often art club is an opportunity to do things that you're not able to do in the regular classroom. If you have something a little more ambitious that you can't fit into the regular curriculum for some reason, art club is a time that you can do that. What about holidays? I do practically nothing. But I know there's a lot of teachers that plan their curriculum around holidays to make sure that they have things for certain seasons, things to go home for gifts, things to celebrate certain holidays. Does anyone care what you do? Are you one of those lone wolf teachers that no one pays any attention to? And no one's going to notice what you do one way or another. The money question. Is your program adequately funded? Are you expected to do any fundraising? Are you expected to, or do you want to spend your own money? And what about you? What are your skills and interests? What are things you want to avoid because you're not good at them or just you just hate them? And what about your personal life? When you're planning your curriculum, it matters whether you have young children at home, whether you've got a long commute, or like me, if you're a childless older person with lots of time on her hands. The time I spend preparing for lessons should not be the same as what a young mother spends. And what is your goal? And not necessarily what is the school's goal, but what is your goal? It's your class, your curriculum. Do it your way. Being an art teacher is my second career. I didn't even start until I was in my 50s. I was a librarian for 30 years. I'm a working artist, and I don't have any kids. I'm pretty financially secure, so I can spend as freely as I want on my art program. I do a lot of ambitious things because I want to and I can afford it. But if you don't have that kind of money to spend, don't do it and plan to not do it. And I'm very passionate about very specific teaching goals, which may not be the same as yours. Maybe your teaching goal is just to get through the day, and that's okay. You can plan for that. Here are my goals. I'm a TAB teacher, teaching for artistic behavior, and I'm very interested in promoting the studio habits of mind. The brain that does the thinking does the learning. So I really push my students to do a lot of the thinking and the work themselves. I'm an elementary teacher for my job, but I also teach adults. And I so often encounter adults who say, I wish I could, but. And I think it's because somehow along the line, they got the idea that they weren't talented enough or good enough, or they just didn't find the thing that they were interested in. So my goal as a teacher, because as an elementary teacher, I might be the last art class some of these kids ever have, I want to expose them to as wide a variety of media and techniques as I possibly can, so that even if they don't pursue art in school any further, I want them to have the confidence to know they can try anything they like and may or may not like it or may not be good at it, but there's nothing stopping them from being an artist. I even have my philosophy written up there on the wall. If you haven't thought about what your goals are, here are some things to think about. You might be focused on creating art portfolios, especially if you're a high school teacher, or you might be focused on that annual art show, perhaps competitions. Some teachers I know are really into recycling, either because of budget constrictions or environmental concerns. Or, like me, they just really like the challenge. This is definitely not me, but there are teachers who are very focused on making very cute and appealing finished artworks that everyone can be proud to hang on their wall. Teachers that make things for every holiday. Teachers that want to make sure that there are gifts for Mother's Day and Christmas. This might even be an expectation at your school. Your goal might be doing the best you can with limited or shared space, or limited time, or no sink. Perhaps you have a mobility problem. Your goal might just be just making it work. Maybe you work with a special population, a religious school, a multilingual school, special needs. Perhaps student behavior is an issue, and you're just trying to get through the year with body and studio intact. Maybe your goal is to overcome and work through these challenges by focusing on social and emotional learning. Maybe the goal of your art program is to help the students overcome these challenges. I don't have a mandate for cross-curricular, but I do a lot of it anyway. I always try to integrate ELA, math, science. I know some of us aren't even called just the art teacher, we're called STEM teachers or STEAM teachers with some very specific expectations. Or maybe you're a tab teacher and your focus is really on the experience of being an artist more than the finished results. Think these things through, because having a goal or multiple goals is going to help you focus your weekly curriculum. So now that we've thought about all those abstract things, let's get down to the more concrete. The scope, what you teach, and sequence when you teach it. Here's my scope. This is what I teach, and I created this primarily from my district's scope and sequence with additions of what I am particularly interested in. If you don't already have a scope, the elements of art are pretty much the standard place to start. This is my sequence. This is when I teach it. So you can see I've got a whole sequence for teaching color, kindergarten through 5th, for teaching line, pattern, shape. I don't teach everything every year. Some things I just cover the younger years, some I don't get to until the later years. And where I put them is not necessarily where you need to put them, but I have a plan and it's written out that this is what I'm doing year to year, and this really helps to build year to year because I know what they have learned the previous year. I also have a list of media. Every year at every grade level, I try to include every one of these media. Gives them a really broad experience. So in addition to the elements and other important visual arts concepts, they're also getting a wide experience of different materials. And this goes back to my philosophy of not thinking that drawing or painting is the only way that you can be an artist. There may be other things here that I'm not including, either because I'm not interested, because I can't do it, or because there's only so many weeks in a year. This is a chart that tracks what I'm teaching with each media each year. Now, I didn't start out with this. This kind of list is going to take some years to build. But if you can take a look at what you're already doing and put it in a list or a chart of this sort, it's really going to help you think through what you want to do, what you need to do, and maybe what you're duplicating, and can cut something out to make room for something new. Okay, now we're getting ready to build your plan. I use an Excel sheet. You might use note cards, a handwritten ledger, Post-it notes, get out your color-coded pens. Whatever your working process is fine, but keep in mind that you are going to change. And that's why I like the note cards or the ledger or the Excel, because I can easily move things around as I change my mind. First thing you're going to put on your chart are your must-haves. I do the same first week intro across the board. So that's going to take up my first week. In the 5th grade, I have a county-wide project. It takes 4 to 5 weeks. I put that on the calendar depending on when the due date is, and that changes year to year. The last 2 weeks of school, again, is always the same. I don't do an art show, but if you do an art show, you're going to want to plan backwards from that to make sure you have not only the finished projects you need, but also that you're not doing big projects at the same time that you're setting up. Schedule free time for art show coming up, coming down. Also think about when you're going to be doing clay, how long that's going to take. If you're going to do something at Christmas or the end of the year, legacy projects, things you know have a particular due date. This is what my chart looks like. I've got the grade levels across the top and the weeks of the quarter along the side. So I'm going to show you how I plan the first quarter of the year. First week, procedures all the way across the board. Kindergarten, because they're kindergarten, I give them a second week of just practicing, just so they can get comfortable before I leap right into a project. I do have a lineup for the kindergartners that I pretty much do the same every year. And this year, I decided to do all of my watercolor painting for 3, 4, and 5 at the same time. I've usually done it later in the year, but I did it early in the year this year, and it worked out really well. This is the 5th grade project that everybody in the county is doing. That's going to take a chunk of time. I've got a big 4-week drawing project for the 4th grade. First and second, I usually start with the lines. My 2nd grade lineup is usually the same year to year. The 3rd grade changes a little bit, but this is what I decided to do this year. And then the 1st graders, I put in the shorter projects. Usually with younger grades, I don't like to go more than 2 weeks on the same thing. And I always like to build in some open studio time. 1, to give students a break, but 2, just to catch up, clean up, and have some flexibility. So this chart reflects how my first 9 weeks actually went. It's not actually what I had started with. I had to make some adjustments as we went along. Thankfully, there were no hurricanes this year, but the way I've constructed it on this chart, it makes it easy for me to see all across, week by week, who's doing what materials I'm going to need, how much space I need, and if I need to cut something or add something, it's very easy to do. Now, I've got very specific information in here because I've been doing this lineup for years. But you're still in the planning process, so I'm going to simplify this. Let's say you don't know exactly what projects you're going to do, but you have thought out your elements or your materials of how much time you want to give to each thing and generally where you want to put it. Now's the time to go to those curricular helps and guides that you have. Whether you've purchased them, whether you've got a textbook, now is the time to go to Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram and look for ideas. I found these in about, 2 or 3 minutes, looking up specific terms like warm and cool colors or shapes for kindergartens, patterns. If you have a specific idea of the concept you're searching for, it's very easy to find, whether in a book or online. So let's take a look at our chart again. So for my 1st grade warm and cool, we're going to put that project. 2nd grade warm and cool, a little bit more detailed. Shapes, I'm going to need more than that, but I'll start with that one. That one is pretty easy. I'll just do that for 1 week. I'll double up 3rd and 4th. Let's say I've never done this project before, so I'm not sure whether it's going to be really fit in 3rd or 4th. 5th grade, I want something a little more complex. Put my pattern for 3rd grade there. There's a 4th grade drawing project. Once you've got your spaces blocked out and you know how much time you want to spend and generally what you want to teach, it makes it much easier to go find those specific projects. And now you're done. No, you're not done. This is what I have planned for the 3rd and 4th quarter, or this is what I had planned in August when I mapped out my entire year. Already, almost at mid-year, I know that this swimming that was scheduled for the kindergartners, that actually got moved up earlier, so I'm going to have to adjust for that. I'd really want to do this project over here for 5th grade, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get enough canvases, so I might have to adjust for that. I'm supposed to be teaching value with the 2nd graders, but I just have not found a project I like yet. So a lot of times this gets cut for time. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. And I've got 2 projects for the 4th grade that sort of fill the same brief. I've done illuminated letters for a couple of years. I think this year I'm going to go do the onomatopoeia. By having a chart, I can make these changes and see easily how changing one area is going to affect the other classes. I never actually teach everything that's on my chart at the beginning of the year, but I always do have a complete chart at the beginning of the year. When you make your chart, be prepared to change it. And this is very important. Do not hide this chart after you're done. Put it on the wall. Mine is on my file cabinet right by my desk. I look at it all the time so I can see what's coming up next, what's coming up in 2 weeks. What do I need to get out? What do I need to order? What am I done with and can put away? And I'm always looking for new ideas. I know you are too. I know you see things on Facebook all the time. Wherever you save them all in the same place. On your computer, on your phone, on your post-it notes, wherever it is, be diligent about saving those ideas as you come across them in the same place. During the summer, you don't have to think about anything, because you have got it all in the file on the chart. When you come back, you're going to have last year's chart. You're going to have that file drawer full of ideas. You got your pencil, you got your eraser. Change it up. If it didn't work, cross it off. If it took longer than you thought, give it more time or less time. If it wasn't the right grade, move it down, move it up, make those adjustments, and you'll find it's going to be so much easier to start each year with a map of the previous year to help you make the changes you want. And here's just my librarian public service announcement. To get better answers, you must ask better questions. I see this all the time on the art teacher social medias that I follow. Don't ask, oh, what are you teaching? What are your favorite projects? What are the best lessons? That's just too vague. Most people aren't even going to bother to answer a question like that, and you're not going to get the kind of information you need. I found when I started teaching that the Facebook groups were absolutely the best source of information, better than my district, certainly better than anybody at my school, even better than the state and national conferences. But ask specific questions. Ask about the grade, ask about the project, ask about the technique. If you ask very specific questions, you are going to get the most helpful answers. No one is going to be as helpful to you as other art teachers. But to get the most helpful answer, ask a specific question. And you could always ask me. I am, after all, a librarian. I'm posting everything I know on YouTube because I believe information, knowledge is the key to success. You can comment here, or you can always just contact me directly on my Facebook page. I'll be happy to help you out. So good luck with your planning, and I'd love to hear how it works for you.